goodness. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Midweek Report. What I actually decided to do for starting off, for those who don't know the whole general gist of this show, we pick a topic, we explore it a little more in depth than most, and none of the stuff we do is scripted. Just get that off the top. So if we sound random and somewhat disjointed sometimes, it is
Yeah, no
because we're not,
script.
no script. We are completely ad-libbing this shit as we go. Please,
Yep.
YouTube, don't take away my money. I only said it briefly.
I'm in danger.
I'm in danger. The demonetization hammer.
Mm.
We're not that popular for that. Please subscribe. We need the money.
Give us your subscription.
Give us your subscriptions. We need them.
Oh.
Oh my goodness. So, yeah, that allows us to be a little more a little more free when it comes to what we say, like what we just did. So, yeah. So, we talk about the game industry, and the topic for that came down the pipe this week is, well, actually, here's the thing. There were actually many things that came down the pipe this week. I was actually debating over the weekend what we were going to work with, but I finally settled on something that I think is quite interesting and does kind of harken to a very bad trend we're seeing is in the game industry, and I think it's only going to get worse from here. In truth,
Yeah, well, whatever makes money tends to keep going and happening.
yeah. Yeah, and in fairness, because of how bad it is, I can rant more, which gives us more content, and you, good viewer, more things to listen to, because my voice is beautiful.
Mm.
Of course it's beautiful. Uh, anyways, enough fellatio aside. uh, so, as provided I just used that term right, I hope I did, otherwise I'm going to sound like an idiot. But anyways, so enough fooling around. What exactly are we talking about? We're talking about the whole issue surrounding the rising prices in when it comes to between the next gen version, the previous gen versions, and the whole controversy surrounding, you know, what gets a free upgrade, what doesn't get a free upgrade, why does the free upgrade not actually be a free upgrade, and why does PS5 actually cost more than PS4, and same thing with, excuse me, Xbox Series X.
The usual.
Yeah. So let's start off with where this all began. This actually began with a video I actually saw with Young. Yeah, he's actually another journalist who does very good work. We link both of his videos down in the description. He touched on this whole business with Horizon Forbidden West a lot more accurately and in deep. Well, I don't want to say accurately, but more in detailed specifically to that specific incident more than we will today, just because of we're going to be a lot more broad in what we're discussing. So if you want to see the specific kind of inciting incident that made us think about this and kind of talk about this, his videos are down below. I highly recommend them. Good journalist.
Mm.
So what
Everything will be seen.
every, everything will be good. So this whole business kind of started with Horizon Forbidden West, which is a sequel to the very popular Horizon Zero Dawn, which was one of the games that released in the mid to later years of the PS4. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember. It was one of the big smash hits of
It
the PS4.
yeah, it was around 2016. A
Mm-hmm.
little later than that probably.
Somewhere around there. And PlayStation decided to add it to its catalog of big AAA games, which again is just another sign that they're going more into the big blockbuster scene than, smaller indie games, but that's a whole other topic for another day. So anyways, Horizon Forbidden Dawn Horizon Forbidden Dawn, ugh. Horizon Forbidden West eventually comes into the picture. And the problem with this one is that back when the PS5 first kinda came into being, or should I say when the first press conferences for the PS5 are going around, they said, or should I say Jim Ryan, who is the big cheese over at PlayStation and Sony, who is the CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment, said, "Oops, excuse me, I just pull up the article so I can directly quote it." For those who don't know, my screen right now is a mixture of like several different articles we'll be pulling from, so forgive me.
Everything will be seen.
Exactly. Again, this is also linked in the description if you want to read the quote yourself. He said, "Additionally, we know that the PS4 community will transition to PS5 at different times, and we're happy to announce PS4 versions of some of our exclusives, Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales, Sackboy Big Adventure, and Horizon Forbidden West will launch on PS4. While these three games were designed to take advantage of PS5, its unique next-gen features like ultra-high-speed HD, SSD, DualSense controller, PS4 owners will be able to enjoy these experiences when they launch. The PS4 digital versions of launch games include a free upgrade to both PS5 consoles, while the PS4 disc versions of these games include a free upgrade to the PS5 with Ultra HD Blu-ray, disk drive, yada yada yada. Basically, what he's saying here: if you buy the base, you get the next free. Right?
Yes.
Right. Well,
Not
let's cut to the
anymore.
chase. They lied. Because when Horizon Forbidden West eventually came to be, again, this has been changed now because they went back on this after only a few days of the controversy happening, which we'll get into that later. But originally, what they had was when you bought the base version of the PS4, you only got the base version of the PS4. You needed to get the larger editions, such as the deluxe edition or, the special edition or Forbidden West Collector's Edition or the Regala Edition or, more expensive things, basically,
Everything.
yada yada, shell out more money. Which, kind of goes contrary to the fact that, the big boss just promised back when this all happened that there wouldn't be a reason to buy more expensive versions. You got them for free, as he said. Base PS4, base PS5, So yeah, they lied. After a few days, they eventually went back on this. And basically, to put a long story short, basically said, well, we tried to hit the mark. We overshot the mark. We made a boo-boo. Sorry, we'll give you the PS4 version if you get the PS5 now. I mean, the PS5 version if you get the PS4 as well now. At least I think. Wait a minute. Let me just corroborate that.
We'll see.
Hold on. Let me just... I know they went back on it. Hold on. Let me just pull up something direct to reference here. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the problem when you don't have a script. You have to constantly do this, which it's the trade-off of
Going
what
back
we do.
and forth. Don't worry about it.
It's the trade-off, ladies and gentlemen. But it gives you a more unique experience. So,
Unique is
yeah. Unique experience. Completely off the cuff. Okay. Their exact quote for going back on this is this. Yes, here we go. Again, this is also linked in the description of the video in case you want to look at this yourself in the sources. Anyways, it says, last year we made a commitment to deliver free upgrades for our cross-gen launch titles, which include Horizon Forbidden West. While the pandemic's profound impact pushed Forbidden West out of the launch window we initially envisioned, we will stand by our offer. Players who purchase Forbidden West on PS4 will be able to upgrade to the PS5 version for free. We also want to confirm today that moving forward, PlayStation's first-party exclusive cross-gen titles, newly released on PS4 and PS5, both physical and digital, will offer a $10 USD upgrade, so US dollar standard, $10 upgrade from PS4 to PS5. So basically they're saying pay $10 to get the extra one. Again, we'll touch on this later. This will apply to the next God of War and Gran Turismo 7, and any other exclusive cross-gen PS4, PS5 games published by Sony Interactive. Yada yada Jim Ryan. Anyways, so, what does this all mean? Well, it's hard to tell. Because if you read their initial kind of wording in their direct script, and where they were exactly directly referencing it, they said that they would be doing it for more act launch titles. Anything within the launch window of the PS5 will get this treatment of free upgrades. But
Free
because of
things,
the way
not for
things
you.
worked out, PS5, because of the way things worked out, Forbidden West wasn't exactly a launch title because it got pushed back, yada, yada, yada. Fine print jargon. Basically, they're going back on their promise because they can. And while it is good, as Young will point out, that they are saying that they will be doing this from here on in and clarifying it, they did
A little.
straight up lie. and then got basically called out for it.
Yeah, they did a little lie, but it's okay.
Well, that so they say.
Hmm.
Here's the thing. This is indicative of a bigger trend we're seeing in the industry of the industry is basically trying to push the boundary of what they can shove in this generation. And I promise you this gets way beyond Horizon Forbidden West and stuff like that. For example, we see EA and FIFA and Madden and their 2K and their Madden series that was doing this way before then, where they're making the next gen versions of the games exclusive to higher priced special editions. So this is not a new concept at all. This idea of making them shell out more money for the higher gen versions, or newer gen versions, I should say, again, isn't a new idea, and it started with honestly the scummiest companies, that being EA and 2K. What a surprise!
Who would have thought?
But here's the thing: this is indicative of this is indicative of a bigger issue. Why do I say that? Well, if you live in the US, PS5s are $69, where the PS4 is $59. And if you live in Canada,
Hmm.
69 for base PS4, 79 for base PS5, because yes, the Canadian dollar is crud.
Money.
But I'm going to try not to rant on that. So, this is kind of indicative of the industry trying to find a way to take their cake and eat it too, essentially, with the idea of the PS5 newer gen version of the game being more expensive. And this goes all the way to the idea of the newer gen version having to be more expensive because of an arbitrary reason the game industry will feed you. And I say this because, depending on who you ask, will depend on the answer you get. Most of the time, you'll get an answer revolving around how gaming prices haven't raised in the last 30 some years in the game industry, despite the fact that, more editions of the game exist that are 3 to 4 times the price. The idea being that bigger games, bigger budgets, yada, 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 we need more money because bigger budgets mean bigger, you know, prices to bring back that money in. Now, here's the problem with that. Or should I say, here's the rub with that. On the surface, that seems like a valid reason. Bigger games require bigger budgets to make. Bigger budgets mean they have to charge more to break even. Again, on the surface, this logic makes sense until you start unfolding the issue here. Look at the way the games industry has been going these last several years, and even the last few decades. We're seeing the rise of multiple, well, not even seeing the rise, it's already happened, of multiple editions in gaming. Deluxe editions, special editions, collector's editions, collectible special word editions, all of them priced higher and higher and higher, some into the hundreds of dollar range. So, when you think about it, games are already charging more for their games, despite the fact that they haven't raised the base price of the game. Doesn't mean they're not still finding a way to charge more for that very game. Again, look at the special editions and stuff like that. I mean, let's just go back to Forbidden West. The deluxe edition alone is another $10 on top of the base 69 again for the PS5 in the US. And the collector's edition, let me just pull it up so I can reference the exact number, is $199. The Regala edition is $259. Again, all 99 cents, because rounding up. But my point here is that there's already more than enough money going into the games industry with these higher end editions. So it's not a question of, bigger budgets, bigger games, and more money. The second thing you'll often tend to hear is inflation. Inflation, inflation, inflation. Games have not raised their price to match inflation for several decades now. Again, not true. Look at these special editions. Look at these special editions, the collector's editions, yada yada yada. Yes, it is true that the base games have not risen their prices, but let's be honest, when you're selling a collector's edition that's over $200 frickin' dollars versus a base game that's over $69, between inflation and everything, I think you've actually overshot the mark than undershot the mark. Trust me, they're getting way more than enough they need to counteract inflation here. It's just that that's a nice thing they like to say because on the surface it sounds true. If you buy only base games, then yeah, your price hasn't gone up for the last few decades. And that's the thing. They were even talking about this early on. Forgive me, I can't exactly pull up this direct quote because it was so long ago. But they even kind of jokingly said in one of the meetings for one of the bigger scummier studios that they even kind of joked that they were kind of waiting for a more arbitrary reason to raise the prices of the games. They don't need to raise the PS5's price $10. They don't need to do it. They can stick to $59 and be just fine, or 69 in the US, or 69 I mean in Canada. But here's the thing. They want more money,
I want your money.
and they will go to any end to get it, including making up a problem and then selling a basically scummy reason as a solution. $59 is an arbitrary number, and ask any journalist who's been in the industry for a long time. $59 isn't the price they've calculated as the base price they used to need to break even. It is an arbitrary number. A number they've thought up that they think people will be willing to pay because people, pay it.
People pay anything for everything.
Well, that's the thing. People look at the price tag of the game and think, well, it must be priced like this because that's what they need to break even. Yes and no. Yes, giving them money helps them break even. But here's the thing: $59 as it used to be, or 59, yeah, no, $59 it used to be for games, which I mean, again, they still are for PS4, but $59 or again 69 if you're in Canada wasn't the price needed because they needed to break even. That wasn't a calculated number. They went through great mathematical, calculations to make sure, oh, if we get this amount and if we sell this many units with this price, we'll break even. Again, it's an arbitrary number, one they've thought up off the top of their head that they think people will be willing to pay, and people pay it, so clearly they were right.
They had something
It's
done
not,
right.
yeah, it's not a hard number that they need to stick to. They can go up or down and be just fine. And with the whole concept of game prices not having raised in the last several generations, well, again, look at special editions. They're charging hundreds of freaking dollars just for one freaking copy. And while, yes, they are more limited in their runs, admittedly, when you start doing the math, $59 60 times is a lot less than $259 twice.
Yeah, just a few problems.
Or should I say $59 twice? You get my point. My math might have been off because I was ranting a little, but you get the point. The logic is that they have raised their prices, just not in a very direct way. And them raising their prices another $10 in the industry isn't a sign that they need to do it to break even. It's an arbitrary method that it's an arbitrary number that they thought up, and now they're raising it another $10 because they're greedy. They don't need the extra $10 because they're already breaking even enough as is. Don't believe me? Look at the excuse me. Look at the economics of the games industry. You see massive studios such as FIFA, or not FIFA. Well, I mean, EA basically is the sole provider of EA. FIFA is basically the sole provider of EA at this point, so they might as well just rename the studio and be done with it. But I mean, just look at companies like EA, like 2K. FIFA alone brings in a good 60%. If last I checked, and again, I'm remembering this off the top of my head, so my math might be slightly off, of the revenue for, well, not even 60, I think it's even more. I think it's like 70, 80% of the revenue, or not revenue. Yeah, I think it's revenue these days. Revenue for EA, 60 to 70%. And I think it's even more of the revenue. So again, the money they're bringing in total for the games EA makes. One game mode in one game that they release yearly is providing 70 to 60% of their revenue. And that's not even factoring in the profit.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, seems about
So,
right.
so again, it's, or should I say it's revenue? You get the point. Again, it's a little disjointed today, forgive me. But the point is, one game mode in one game brings in most of their freaking revenue these days. And that's not because they don't have more games. Look at EA's catalog. It's freaking loaded. The reason is they milk the game to heaven, to hell and back. And that's the reason most of that profit comes in. One game mode. And EA is a massive freaking company that has record sales. Activision Blizzard, no different. Recently, only a few years ago, they boasted about new record sales, while at the same time cutting most of their employees.
Yes. My
It's not
logic is inevitable.
again, it's not because they need this money. They don't. It's just because they're greedy.
They have a whole lot of need for more money despite the fact that they've already gotten it.
So
Money.
so that's the reason I find these rising in prices of $10 and $20 or $10 to be complete bull when you think about it. And this is just one of a myriad of issues. And in the video's intro, and in the video like name, it's they're testing more scummy methods. Because again, this is just a test. When you think about it, Sony didn't screw up when they went back on the promise they made to give free editions of free upgrades to the newer game to the newer console editions. That was not a screw up on their part. That was a calculated risk. They wanted to see if anyone would notice if they started screwing people over without actually telling anyone they were screwing them over. They didn't release any press conferences saying, "Oh, well, we're going to do this now." They just kind of did it and see if anyone noticed. People noticed. And when they did, they immediately went back on it. Well, they did,
Almost.
but then clarified they will be doing this again in the future. Again, they are testing to see what they can get away with. They want to see how much money they can bring out of this new. They want to see how much more revenue they can legally justify this new generation being able to pull in for completely arbitrary reasons. And again, the armchair
Economists.
economists will be sitting here saying, well, inflation, or well, this, or well, that. And again, yes,
Deflation,
on the
inflation.
inflation, this, or game prices haven't risen, that. And here's the thing, all those things tend to not come from people who analyze the finances of the games industry. Most of these excuses, in fact, I kind of made a mistake when I when I think about mentioning economists, because most of these reasons we keep hearing about why the prices need to keep raising aren't from people who actually who do the numbers when it comes to the economics of the games industry. Guess who we keep hearing those justifications from? The CEOs. You know, the ones who typically make all the money. It sounds crazy when you think about it, but look at freaking Activision Blizzard. There was a case a while back that because of how poor, like how different the money paid in the company was, you see people like Bobby Kotick, who's the current head or president, I should say, of Activision Blizzard, making millions and millions and millions of dollars, where some of his own people can't even eat in their own cafeteria because they don't get paid enough.
Pretty much.
So it feels really freaking hollow when I hear these big shots try to justify they need more money when, they're basically raking in money by the truckload and keeping it all for themselves mostly. It really does seem hollow when you hear these kinds of excuses from these kinds of individuals. If the company truly does need more money, if they truly need more profit to fill the banks of the company, if you will, to keep the industry to keep their business going, don't give their CEOs so much money. Don't give them signing bonuses that number in the millions.
Don't give them the reason to buy.
Well, again, it's you hear these big names in the industry justifying these price hikes, while at the same time screwing over their employees left, right, and center, as well as the consumer. It's not just the employee they're screwing over. which again doesn't make this, which honestly makes it even worse, quite literally. And then they immediately turn around and say, we
It's
need more
okay.
money. We see controversies left, right, and center of CEOs getting paid more in the games industry than in any other industry. CEOs in this industry make truckloads of money compared to their peers in any other business. And then those same CEOs turn around, and it's not just CEOs, but I like saying the word, and plus they're also the ones justifying it too. But suits in general, you see said in CEOs turn around and immediately say, "We're poor, give us more money."
Money, please.
It's like watching the rich guy with like a Rolls Royce try to beg how he's apparently such a poor man. And if you're so poor, where'd you get the Royce? Or Rolls. What's the shorthand for it? Rolls or Royce? I'm not
Mm.
a car nut, sorry. But again, it's that kind of logic we're seeing that truly is irritating. And it really is kind of the beginning of what I'd like to see is a what I'd like to say is a very bad trend in the industry of they're testing the waters to see what they can get away with and what they can't get away with. And again, as I keep saying throughout this entire piece, the whole reason they raised the prices on these editions isn't because they need more money. The PS4 and the PS5 discrepancy in their pricing isn't because this generation suddenly costs more to make, despite what all the suits at these companies will tell you. They don't care. The money isn't specific. They didn't calculate the money between last gen and this gen and suddenly calculate they need 10 more dollars to break even this year. Look at the finances of 3 to 4 years ago and look at the finances now. They're still boasting record growth then, just like they were still boasting record growth now. It's not about the profit. Or, okay, no, it is very much about the profit,
Mm.
but it's not about that $10 difference that keeps them going. It's all because they thought of an arbitrary reason to raise the prices. And again, they even joked, I think, and how about how they were just waiting for a good reason to justify raising the prices. This isn't something they thought of this generation because they needed to do it. They were just waiting for a good enough reason to do it. This isn't necessary. This is just them trying to screw you over and justify it somehow.
Why not?
And going back to things like PlayStation and this whole debacle with Horizon Forbidden West, it makes it even worse when you consider that Xbox and their console Series X is sticking to their promise of free upgrades for the PS for the Xbox Series X to the Xbox One, or Xbox One to the Xbox Series X. Forgive me, those names. Xbox Series X, Xbox Series. The names are confusing. Last gen to current gen consoles for free across the board. It's not like there's an initial, it's not like there's an arbitrary cutoff date Xbox has said, to my knowledge, as of this point. That they're like, well, as of January 5th on 2022, we're not going to do this anymore. They've just flat out said they're going to give free upgrades from last gen games to current gen games until the last gen games just stop getting made and they just keep making current gen games. Because, there's no last gen to upgrade at that point.
Yep.
It sounds much better in terms of consumer friendliness coming from Xbox saying this when you hear that by comparison to what PlayStation is saying, where they made a promise, probably broke that promise, went back on breaking that promise, and then decided to basically take a half step back instead. They didn't completely go back on it. They just said, well, in this particular instance, we'll let you have your free upgrade, but from starting on this point on, we're not going to do that. And what's even more annoying is they even kind of left a legal loophole for them to do that, so to speak, in the way Jim Ryan worded the initial unveiling of this, when he more or less said that the launch titles for the PS5 will be doing this, but not exactly anything else. He didn't specifically say anything else, but he said, the launch titles of PS4, PS5 will be upgraded, yada, yada, yada. He left them a loophole for them to do this. But here's the problem. The games industry is such a big business where reading the fine print matters. I am tired of having to figure out if I'm going to get screwed over in a contract for the games industry by how many legal loopholes a company left open for them to suddenly say, well,
You
we can do this
know,
now because we didn't technically say we weren't. I guess the moral of this whole story is that exact words matter in this industry, and that it feels really shitty to say, all things considered.
with how things always go.
Mm.
No game is always going to be perfect, and no company will do so.
No company will do so. It is the way of things. So we're kind of left sitting here with the whole will they, won't they? I'm just waiting for the PS6 to come over and them to raise the price another $10. I officially called it if they do it. I was first told of here. I probably shouldn't say that because I probably shouldn't give the
You
buggers any
jinxed
more
it.
ideas.
It's too late. You already jinxed it.
Yeah, I already jinxed it. So now people can actually probably blame me for doing it if it happens. Knock on wood. Knock on wood.
He's
But
knocking on wood, ladies and gentlemen. He's knocked on wood.
I have officially knocked on the wood, so yeah, we'll see how that goes. But again, it really is a disheartening thing to see the industry basically trying to perfect the art of cheating and stealing without technically cheating and stealing.
Pretty much.
And again, as I said throughout this entire piece, this price hike wasn't a necessity, not by a long shot. The whole new generation of consoles was just a good enough reason for them to justify doing it. It wasn't necessary, it was just a good enough excuse. And then you see them start creating reasons like, again, inflation. Again, wrong. Look at the new editions of games that cost 10 times more than the base game. Well,
Yes.
games are getting more expensive. Well, again, look at the new editions. They cost 10 times more than the base game. So when you really start to look at the problem from a critical point of view and start dissecting the whole layers of this issue, it really is arbitrary and it really doesn't need to happen. It will anyway because, businessmen like money.
Business. Proposition for you.
I have a proposition for you.
Give me money.
I have proposition. Give me money and I won't steal your soul.
Mm.
You've been oddly well. I was gonna say you've been oddly quiet, but then I remember why you've been oddly quiet this episode.
Yes.
He didn't get much sleep last night.
Haven't gotten much sleep in a while.
Okay, he got too much sleep last night, but because he didn't get enough sleep earlier on, he's
Sleep.
sleep.
I
After
mean,
this,
for me, I'll say this: games can be quite interesting on how they come out when companies go and make the choices they do. Like sometimes you can have like a really big hit seller game, and the company goes the perfect direction with it, where like every move they make keeps people into that game, and it keeps people wanting to get the game again and again if they do release it in different versions. But there's a difference between going and releasing a hit seller game that's doing well and then just going and manufacturing that hype and justifying in your own mind that, oh yeah, no, it makes sense to keep selling this in different versions even though, nobody's buying it.
I feel like you're slightly referring to the whole Skyrim issue we have currently.
Mm-hmm. I
How
mean,
Skyrim is on its like 12th edition at this point.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like some companies do legitimately go and make the choices they do because they think it's right. But then you got some companies that are going and making choices that are just purely out of greed and more money.
Yeah.
And you just you have to wonder, is it going to last that long? Because it doesn't feel like it'll last that long. It'll last a while, that's for sure. But
I feel like that's the whole like problem we face in the industry. They will not change their minds when it comes to these things. They will not. They will raise the prices, people will pay them, and then we'll just move on. Like I don't I
yeah,
almost
that's
feel like
the
I'm
other
trying to
thing.
say that people are enabling them, but in a way it kind of
People
is.
kind of
Like
are, yeah.
and it again, it's not entirely the consumer's fault. Like God knows when it comes to things like again FIFA and stuff like that, to another scummy practice of things like loot boxes and stuff like that. There's casino mechanics from hell and back in that game, so they're not exactly making it too hard for a person to succumb to their baser instincts to press the buy button. But again, it's
It's a little bit of a self control based thing at that point. Like you have to, you really gotta, get yourself to thinking. Do I really need this because it's a new game that I'm actually gonna play a lot, or am I getting this because I think it's a good game?
again, yeah, it's again, companies will go to ends. The companies will bend over backwards to the point their spine snaps to justify these practices. Why? Because it makes them money. And that's about the end of it when you think about it. It's just they're looking for more ways to grease more money out of players. And it's getting to the point where here's the thing. I don't want bureaucracy to come into the game industry. And the reason I bring that up is you see things like the going to again back to the whole loot box incident. The
You
whole incident
you get
in the case,
governments going and starting to put a say in things, but then that could also go and end up hampering creativity down the line.
yeah, that's the thing. I don't want bureaucracy in a way to enter the games industry because legal laws and stuff like that move so slow that at that point, what's the point even more?
Mm-mm.
But at the same time, you have companies like again EA, 2K, and now apparently Sony, who are getting in the business of trying to grease every last dollar out of their players through any arbitrary reason they can think of, even if the reason is as simple as a new generation of consoles comes out. So apparently, games are now more expensive to make, which again isn't entirely wrong. Games have been getting more expensive to make over the last several decades. I mean, devil knows Mario 64 was a lot less expensive to make than freaking the latest freaking
Mario
the newest
Party.
Halo. I mean, yeah, I'm betting. There's not a single bet in the world I would lose if I. There's not a single amount of. There's not a single cent I would lose if I bet that Mario 64 was a lot less expensive to make than the new Halo game. God knows that I'd win that bet, but
Yeah, yeah, it's a 50-50 when it comes to it all, really. Sometimes it's gonna be good, sometimes it's not.
yeah, but again, it's games have been getting more expensive, but look on the other side of that coin. Games have found more ways to grease money out of players more than ever now. You have again loot boxes. You have new additions that we've been touching on a lot throughout this piece. You have just in-game purchases in general, DLCs. I could go on. The list really could go
Customizable
on.
skins.
I mean, in the case of Bethesda, you have their what's it called, Creation Club too, which
Mhm. That
I'm
thing
not even
that
going to
that
talk
they
about.
encourage modders to go and make mods, put it onto the workshop, but then people realize, oh, I could go and get this mod on this mod site for free that has actually more in it than the actual in-game mod thing.
That's the thing. That's the thing. It's on one hand of the story, businessmen will bend over backwards to justify they need more money because of the new generation, because games are more expensive. And again, they're not wrong. Games have gotten more expensive to make, but look at the other side of that coin. How many ways can you spend money in just one game these days? From purchase to during playing to after playing. There is so many ways they can cash in on a game during, after, and before its life cycle,
Yeah.
or before, after, and during its life cycle, I should say.
Yep. Well,
Like,
it's gonna be a fun little thing to see. That's for sure.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Oh my goodness. Because of the unscriptedness of this, I'm just gonna break out of this and say, what time are we at now, Justin?
We are at 40
Of
minutes.
recording. 40 minutes. Okay, 40 minutes. I'm trying to experiment with length, ladies and gentlemen, because I'm just trying to figure out like what
What's
you
a
guys would like to
comfortable
hear.
length?
Recently, I've looked up, actually, I'm not going to lie, what is kind of the average for podcasts. And used to be, we were doing like an hour, and sometimes in one case, even 2 hours, which in even my case, I thought was quite long than we
Well,
should
the
have.
other thing about it too is it depends on the type of content. Like if you have a lot of things you're going over, you're gonna need at the very least 20 minutes per topic, and
Oh,
then
yeah.
whatever's left is like whatever you kind of feel like ranting about.
Yeah, yeah. Which is,
So there's that.
there is that, but I looked up and it's like 30 to, I think, 60 minutes is kind of the average, or 30 to 40 minutes, something like that, is the average for podcasts. And us going into like 2 hours, never again, never again.
That's unless we have like 8 topics or something, and even then.
Nah, well, even then, I don't think I would ever load us up with that many topics. I think even then, we would never be able to do justice to all eight. Like, you can be certain that when we do these topics, we want to do justice to them when we bring them up, so it's not going to be complete, arbitrary junk.
Just random things for no real reason.
Indeed, indeed. So, yeah,
Yep.
again, like I said, it's this whole business with game companies are just making arbitrary reasons to raise prices, and this $10 price hike is no difference. And Sony's whole shtick revolving around the whole conspiracy, I was going to say conspiracy, but whole controversy surrounding Horizon Zero Dawn is just indicative of it getting even worse in the industry. And I feel like this trend is going to get even worse as time goes on, as more companies really try to push the waters of what they can do. They're going to purposely make scummy decisions, see if they get away with it. How much problems does it raise? How many kind of ears does it perk up when they do these kinds of things? And then kind of work from there. It's really kind of like feeling your way around a minefield. And they really want to see how far they can push it before they need to take a few steps back.
Yeah. And really when it comes down to it, like when it comes to buying a new console, buying a new game, do make sure that you actually want to get that game. Like don't and like there's one thing where I'll say like it's one thing if you're getting the game because it's like a memory type of thing. You haven't seen this game in like how many years and you're thinking to yourself, "Wow, people still remember this game." Okay. But don't keep buying the same game over and over even though you know there's nothing different about it, or you don't go and keep buying the same type of console even though they didn't change anything or maybe sometimes made the console worse. Like
Soldier Boy, we're looking at you.
yeah, make sure that what you're getting will be worth it. If it's worth it to you emotionally or if it's actually worth your time and you're going to be putting a lot of time and energy into it. Just
Honestly, yeah, I agree. Feel like I kind of cut you off there. I'm sorry.
mhm.
Uh, but but yeah, I think one of the best kind of philosophies we work with in the games industry right now is, I think, honestly, I think it was Jim Sterling, who's a very big critic of the games industry, and rightfully so. There's a lot to criticize in this industry. Heck, we kind of make that our passive. That's kind of our passe.
That's how we
Uh,
roll.
we're 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 some weird amalgamation of critic and journalist. So yeah,
Yep. Well, you know, we do what
some days we're
we do what we
criticizing, some days
must.
and we do what we must to survive. Some days we're criticizing, some days we're just reporting. But I think it's a mixture of both, honestly. But here's the thing: I think one of the best things he said is that the games industry right now is kind of primed us in a state where buying, like, where you're an idiot to buy a game on launch. Like,
Mm.
why? I'll say, and why is, well, basically because within the next 3 weeks, there's either going to be a better edition or an enhanced edition or a
A
discount
bunch of
or something.
updates. Like they're going to do something that'll obviously make it look like what they released wasn't actually ready. Like
Yeah, it's either going to be the game's going to get, like, buying a game at release, you're gonna have massive updates that you're gonna have to do. The game probably won't be complete because there's gonna be DLC that comes later. There might just even be a flash discount sale even the day after it released. I remember that happened with a few games I purchased where I bought them at market price only to find them like 60 to 70% off,
Yep.
literally only a few days after that.
Yep. I've
Like the
seen
games
that.
industry is honestly, the games industry has primed us in a state where you're an idiot to buy games on launch day because something major, either a major update or something is going to happen a few months or weeks down the line, or some major discount is going to happen in that kind of time. So, you know, and honestly, I still buy games to some degree when they first come out, but I am a little more selective unless I'm like really interested in the game regardless. I won't tend to buy it on launch because again, it is something that, it's
You don't want to just throw away your money thinking you're getting something worthwhile when when it's really not.
mhm.
Like you got to be a little selective with what you're getting, otherwise your money is gone.
I mean, Fallout 76 is a whole
Mm-hmm.
lesson in that. Whole lesson in cautious spending, ladies and gentlemen, the
Well,
case of 76.
it's literally the example of the game is not ready, gets released, and then after about a few months, oh here's the actual game now. It's actually ready now. Like,
And again, that's kind of another trend we're seeing where game companies will purposely release a game half baked because I can't believe at this point they don't honestly do that on purpose
mm,
and just hope that the game will stick around long enough for them to either finish it or make their money back long enough so when the eventually game does get finished they can already move on to the next project and yada yada. Games get basically sent out the door half baked and just get left to air cook, if you will, later on. It hoping that the game will make a massive bounce back success and make them a ton of money. It's again, we're seeing that all over the place recently, but again, that's a whole other topic for a whole other discussion. But again, it goes back to this point that the games industry is testing the waters of how much scum they can put down the throats of both customers. I don't even say, yeah, no, I want about customers and even their own staff in some cases before the straw breaks the camel's back. I mean, again, look at the whole business with Activision and Blizzard. That whole business with their whole work culture has finally just imploded on itself, and rightfully so when you look into it.
yep.
And when you look at the whole business surrounding this whole business with Horizon Zero Dawn or Horizon Zero Dawn, Horizon Forbidden West, and the whole business with will you get a free version? Oh, you won't. Oh, now you will. And now you have to pay $10 later on for all future editions of later games that have upgrades. It really is this whole the straw will eventually break the camel's back. They're just seeing when and how long that'll be until it happens. And until then, sky's the limit essentially.
Yeah. Get a game if you really want it, but don't try not to fall for their scummy business ventures.
I admit, I probably will still play Forbidden West. I won't be happy I have to pay 10 extra bucks. And I feel like, again, that's kind of going counter to my point. You just said we're enabling them. You're enabling them. And yeah, that's the problem. One way or another, people will play it. It's that old gambling, it's that old gambling term. The wheel may be crooked, but it's the only wheel in town. If you want to play the game, regardless, you're going to have to pay their price, whether you like it or not. And that's kind of what they're betting on. They can honestly, so long as they make it to a point where people can still pay their price, I feel like they could raise the price as high as they humanly wanted, and people would still pay it. Not because they want to, but because if they want to play the game, there's just no other choice.
Pretty much.
I feel like the same thing could happen with Halo. I mean, do you here, Justin?
Kind
You're
of
a big Halo
already happened.
fan. You're a big Halo fan.
Hmm.
Would you, if the game was $80, still play it?
If it was like Halo 5 or Halo 4 release, no.
But what if it was like Halo 3 or
Maybe.
2?
Halo 3
Yeah.
and 2 were very big, and they were very long lasting. Like if I had the console, like if I was back then and it was that much, I would buy it. If I had like the knowledge that I have now of how successful that was and how much memories people made because of those games, I would actually honestly buy it because to me that was very much worth it.
Again, that's the thing.
Like
There is this kind of logic of
if
as
you
long as
if you knew it was gonna do well, yes. But if you
I,
didn't,
f-
then I don't know about that.
I feel like Cyberpunk kind of played with the same logic of they made it in a way where it looked like it was going to be the next big thing since sliced bread, and because of it, it sold like hotcakes. Only to people realizing, to their great chagrin, that oh wait, this
No.
isn't the greatest thing since sliced bread. In fact, it's pretty broken. I still like the game personally because of its story and stuff like that, but it is still pretty broken, admittedly. But again, it's this whole business of as long as they make it portrayed in a way where they can hook people and really get them interested in the game, they can make it any price they want and people would probably still pay it. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
hell, people pay massive amounts of chunk of change for collector's edition, admittedly, myself included. So, like, it really is that kind of thing where it's an arbitrary number that they know people will pay. It's not a hard number that they have to stick to. It can rise, it can fall, and they'll be freaking fine. So them justifying a $10 price hike is ridiculous through the methods that they're using. Because honestly, it feels like the games industry thinks its own consumers are stupid, and they know they know their consumers aren't stupid. But so long as they pretend their consumers are stupid, nothing bad will happen to them.
Yep. Well, why not? Why not keep doing the same things that we've already done a bunch? We'll get there someday.
We'll get there someday, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my goodness. So I feel like I'm just going on a rant at this point, and
I mean,
well,
it kind of feels like it does need to be said because there
it does
are a
need to
lot
be.
of people who will keep going and basically enabling this kind of stuff. Like, you don't feel like you want to say it's enabling, but in a way, it kind of is.
Like
Like
it
they
is.
are encouraging them to keep going and making the publishers think, yeah, no, this is worth going and doing this still.
Like again, here's the thing. I really don't like again, it is a case of it takes two to tango here. Yes, people are still enabling them by giving into these things, but
And then
in
you
their own
got,
defense,
yeah, like you also got the companies that do it anyways, and it's like,
yeah, but
yay.
it's like in their own defense, it's not like that's entirely their fault. Again, look at FIFA for example. I will rail to like today, tomorrow, and all the way to next year and then some about how people shouldn't be, giving into the FIFA loot box mechanics and stuff like that. But again, look at all the things FIFA and EA by extension have done to ensure that that happens. They've riddled their game with gambling mechanics to make it basically a living casino, and anyone who knows psychology and how that works can tell you that if you make something addictive, people will get addicted. Surprising, right? As well as the fact that
Wrong.
wrong. Why? I'm not human, therefore I am above you. But honestly, but again, when you look at it, also by the whole thing that because EA owns the whole license to the FIFA franchise, and that's what people want, they want the actual FIFA sports team. And again, look how hyped up sports fans get when it comes to their favorite teams. It really is a long time loyalty devotion. EA knows this. EA willingly exploits it, and EA will continue to exploit it till the day the sun burns out.
Yep.
Again, it's not entirely their fault. And honestly, I don't feel like I should blame them too much because, again, EA doesn't need to do that. EA shouldn't do that. EA will, however, because it makes them cash.
Their money.
So, so again, I feel like blaming it on the consumer is a terrible. Again, okay, I basically violated a law there when I said consumer because I hate that term because it originally that term was actually used, fun fact, as an insult. So customer.
Hmm.
I, just me catching myself in my own words, ladies and gentlemen. Forgive me. I'm I'm in
I
college
am
for
a
business, so I hear that
heretic.
I recently transferred from computer science to business in college, ladies and gentlemen. So I hear that term a lot recently. Uh, so forgive me if I catch myself in my own words there. I honestly hate that term, truth be told. But again, I really can't blame the customers all too much here because, again, FIFA basically rigs it in a way where they're the only wheel in town. They're crooked and addictive as shit.
As much as they can be, really.
As much as they can be. So me saying how dare you give in to FIFA is basically me telling an addict of a drug or me telling a person who's addicted to casino slot machines, how dare you be that or how dare you be this. Well, it's quite simple really. The thing they do is highly addictive. Not really their own fault when you look at it from a psychological level. But again, that's just the way the wheel is. Crooked, and EA, if they have their way, will happily keep it that way.
Yep.
Anyways,
Well,
I think we've ranted for quite a while.
we've had our
And quite-
fun. We've had our fun. You've heard us
I've had my
go
fill.
on with it.
Yeah, I've had my fill, and you good folks probably need to get on with your day or night or whenever it is. So
Whenever
I think
you've
we'll
decided to sit down with us and
whenever you've decided to sit
hear
down with us,
hear us going mad with how everything's going.
or me specifically going mad as Justin
Oh,
quietly sits there and
I'm
listens.
not disagreeing with you. I'm certainly not disagreeing.
He's not disagreeing, folks. It confirmed.
So,
But again, typically, do all the typical YouTuber things, like, subscribe, comment
have
on
the
our
fun.
videos. Please feed the algorithm. Get us out there. The truth must be heard. I feel like a freaking.
The unknowns must be known.
I feel like a protester. The truth must be heard, or conspiracy theorist. I should just new plot twist. We're gonna put on our webpage just a giant triangle with the Illuminati eye in it. The truth is out there.
The truth.
This is now a conspiracy channel, ladies and gentlemen.
We've become the Destiny meme. Hunt down the truth. Find the truth.
Find the truth. Find thy Savathun.
Mhm.
Find the Moth Woman. Oh my goodness. But anyways, again, feed the algorithm, like, subscribe, all that stuff. And honestly, if you really do enjoy our content, please watch our stuff, subscribe. We do these videos every week on Wednesdays around 12 Eastern Standard Time, 12 noon. So
Just
yeah,
keep in mind though, next week might be late. Next
might
week
be late.
might be late. Might be a late stream next week.
How
Or
late?
early stream. Depends. We'll see.
I've gone to extensive lengths to ensure that my college courses will not interfere with this this show, because I do it for you, ladies and gentlemen.
Just always remember, it will be on Wednesday. There will always be a Wednesday stream. If there isn't, then that means something serious or really hectic has gone on.
One of us is a very big problem, and we will let you know, ladies and gentlemen.
And we will make up for it. We will do everything we can. But no matter what,
if nothing else, it will be on Wednesdays.
But no matter what, yes, we will be on. We will try to be on Wednesdays. If not at 12, then expect it later in the day. And if not at the later of the day, then we will contact you and give you stream whenever we are able to.
Yes, preferably at 12. Hoping to stick to that. The more I say it, the more Justin is probably thinking in his head, "Don't make promises you can't keep." But
yeah. I'm literally pulling the Halo 2 and Halo 3. Don't make a promise you know you can't keep.
I'll be back for you. Oh my goodness. But again, we stream on Wednesdays, ladies and gentlemen. If you enjoy our content, feed the algorithm, like, subscribe, all that stuff.
Share your friends.
Tell your friends. Let them know we speak the truth.
Literally take a piece of paper of our channel and just shove it in their face and say, "Look at this. Look at it.
Look at it. Look at this." But oh my goodness. Again, I guess I'll just do my classical intro, I guess. In the words of the immortal Red Green, I'm pulling for you. We're all in this together. Good night.